Some have argued that by not raising taxes, we will fail to fund essential services like emergency response, jails, and schools. We all want to ensure that these critical needs are met. However, I believe there's another way to look at this, a practical way that doesn't put in an extra burden on hardworking people who are struggling to make ends meet. Let's think about how a family manages their finances. When the egg prices spiked, many families opted for alternate food choices. When gas prices soar, they decide to skip those weekend road trips and they stay at home. Families adapt. They prioritize. They cut where they can, and that's exactly what our local government should do too. Raising taxes should not be the go-to solution every time the budget feels tight, because it's not tight for lack of revenue. It's tight because of how we're spending it. Looking at any budget, you'll find programs that have outlived their usefulness, or administrative overlap that could be streamlined, or projects that don't deliver real value. Why not start there? Why not demand efficiency and accountability, before reaching deeper into taxpayers' already strained wallets? Emergency services, jails, and schools matter deeply, but they're not at risk because we won't raise taxes. They're only at risk if the board does not ensure that our money is being spent wisely. Families don't get to print extra money or demand more from their neighbors when times get tough. They make it work with what they have. Our government can do the same. It's not about starving the system. It's about making it more focused on what truly counts. So please say no to raising real estate taxes. It's not because we don't care, but because we do. We care enough to demand better, to insist on a budget that reflects real priorities, not just easy fixes that put more pressure on the citizens that are already struggling to make ends meet.
I understand that many of my community leaders or my fellow residents are concerned about the increase in the tax rate. And over the last year or so, I've heard of individuals state as such. I too am a homeowner, and the pinch hurts. However, officers eat last. I will do everything possible for my kids to be afforded the same opportunity that I have. Many of you grew up in Stafford County with those great schools. Your parents paid higher tax rates so that you could have the education that you have. We need to do the same. Our children do not deserve less. Likewise, I am concerned when I hear leaders of our community complain about a potential increase in the tax rate, because although some will tout that we have increased our rates 30% over the last 3 years, it's because in 2021, when it was 97 cents, we cut it, or I should say the board at the time cut it down to 85 cents. So that is the reason why we have the deficit that we have today. So therefore, I am imploring you, we're not even asking you to go back to the 97 cents. This is at 95, below what was asked before.
When President Trump won the election in November, he was given a mandate by the voters to cut taxes and wasteful spending. This mandate trickles down to the state and local levels. Florida is setting the example at the state level. I want to thank you for also recognizing this mandate at the last meeting and for agreeing to work with one another to find additional cost savings within the county budget. My parents and I are opposed to any tax increase.
I came here tonight not to participate in the annual Stafford version of Hunger Games, where citizens on the hook for property taxes are pitted against the school board with an insatiable appetite for double-digit school budget increases. Instead, I would like to take some time to recite from a list. 2 Lowe's, 3 Walmart, 1 Target, 1 Home Depot, 1 Tractor Supply, 1 Harbor Freight, 1 Target, countless Wawas, Sheetz, and Royal Farms, dozens of restaurants, dozens of hotels, multiple car dealerships, millions of square feet of warehouse space, hundreds of thousands of square feet of office space, multiple grocery stores, multiple pharmacies, and 1 Amazon processing center. Like I said, this is not a complete list of the businesses in Stafford County, but I think the people in this room and the people online know that the commercial footprint in the county has changed substantially in the last few years, yet the real estate and personal property piece of the tax revenue pie never seems to shrink. We've heard countless times that we need to just hang on until the data centers are up and running. My question to the board is, what is going on with the current commercial revenue? And if we're getting very little from current businesses, why should we believe the board and the Commissioner of Revenue that the data centers will somehow lighten our burden?
Our school systems was the gem of Stafford County Public Schools. It's how we got so many people to move here and invest their talents into our community. And it's now so different. We held our heads high saying, we graduated from Stafford County Public Schools, or I worked for Stafford County Public Schools. Those standards have fallen, and so has our prestige. If we want to keep on growing at the rate we are building, we're going to consistently compare ourselves to Northern Virginia, then we need to start acting like it. We need to fully fund our schools. Per Stafford County Public Schools, my position is what you called a non-licensed personnel, which means that our pay has been non-existent for years. We're the people that give our county time and time again. We're the ones who've been asked to take the hits. Is the new message, don't work here because you won't be able to live here? That's really hard for me to fathom if that's the case.
Money does not improve test scores. Everybody's right. Besides involved families, the things that actually do create those successes are highly qualified and tenured teachers, hands-on experiences, warm toes, full bellies, access to resources like current technology and libraries, and students feeling like a valued participant in their education. So how do we get those things? Communities have to be involved and actually champion the schools, and we have to pay for the cost of qualified teachers to live within a driving distance.
There are certain elements that are vital to the success of the communities that are north of us. Every single big school division north of here now has the ability for their educators to negotiate their contracts. So that's one thing we're competing with, and if we're even going to attempt to compete with it, we have to compensate our educators well. All this back and forth could be alleviated with a revenue sharing agreement. We are like a divorced couple without a child support agreement. You got the custodial parent saying, here's what I need for the kids, non-custodial parents saying, here's what I'm going to give you. It gives everyone anxiety, nobody's happy, the kids are the one that suffer. It happens every year. I recognize there's not a lot you can do to make the change this year, but I'm asking you to do the hard thing and set the tax rate where you've advertised it. I really haven't said anything tonight that I haven't said before, and while I'm hopeful, I'm not really confident that we'll see a new outcome. Some of you have shown your support with your words, your actions, and your voting record, but after a decade of insanity, I've come to the conclusion that the only real way to enact change in Stafford is to stop electing the same representatives and expecting different results. So I hope the citizens of Stafford are paying attention.